So it's been a couple of days since I saw Edgar Wright's new movie, Last Night in Soho, and I have to admit, I was pretty hyped for this movie. Edgar Wright is one of my favorite directors. Hell, I'll go as far as to say he's my #1 favorite. Movies like Baby Driver and the Cornetto trilogy are fantastic films that have impressive editing and storytelling. Each time I watch each of these movies, I gain something new. I notice a neat editing trick, I notice some callback I didn't see the first time. These are incredibly rewatchable movies, and I think that's one of the most important aspects for a film to have. I mean, if a movie isn't worth rewatching, then what's the point of watching it at all? With that all said, Last Night in Soho is a movie I'd like to see again, but not in the same way as his other movies. I'd want to rewatch it to see if it really was any good, because the more I think about it, the more I kinda don't like it. Now obviously the movie has elements to it that really work. The editing and cinematography are all top-notch as usual. Wright usually rocks the technical departments when it comes to his movies. The way it's shot and edited is really something to behold. Just the way the camera moves in certain scenes is really cool. You feel like you're just flying through certain scenes. It makes you excited for what you're watching. Little touches like how the music syncs up with the flashing lights is also present throughout the film. I love details like that, which is why I love Baby Driver so much. I'm a sucker for music syncing up with the visuals. So yeah, from a technical standpoint, the movie seems like any other Edgar Wright film. It's all done really well. Unfortunately, there's a lot more that goes into the movie, and that leads me to probably my least favorite aspect of the film, the writing. I know saying the writing is the worst seems like a vague criticism. What exactly does that mean, the writing? Well, what I mean is, the movie is just written weirdly. It has neat ideas, but the overall structure and storyline are really messy and bring the quality of the film down significantly. Let me explain. The beginning seems fine, almost a little too cliched for its own good. We have the main character move into her new dorm room and meet her copy-paste mean girl roommates you've seen in a million other movies. The roommate lifestyle proves to not work out, so then Eloise decides to move out and live in an apartment that she just so happens to see an advertisement for. And this is the apartment that you all saw in the trailers where she starts to see the visions of the past. Okay, one, if this was where the majority of the movie takes place, why didn't we just start with her moving in there right away? Why did we need her to move into the dorm first? It adds nothing to the movie. Sure, it sets up the bitchy roommates and her friendship with Michael, but she could have easily met Michael in any number of her classes, and the bitchy roommates could have been cut entirely from the film. These roommate characters add nothing substantial to the story. They're quite literally antagonistic bullies that are just there to fill up more runtime. They don't affect the plot in any meaningful way, except to get the main character to the apartment that she could have gone to in the first place. Alright, so she's living in the apartment owned by Diana Rigg, and she starts to see the visions of the 60s with Anya Taylor-Joy. These are all really cool sequences and have some impressive editing to show Eloise watching everything. But that leads me to my next point. It's never explained why she has these visions. It's hinted at that she has a family history of mental illness and that her mother ended up dying because of the things she thought she saw, so we're led to believe that Eloise has the same thing. Now, I'm not smart enough to tell whether this is offensive to anybody with schizophrenia or any kind of mental illness, so I won't stand on any moral high ground on this one. I just think it's kinda lazy to chalk up the whole seeing things because of her having a mental illness of sorts. And for that matter, what kind of mental illness causes you to see visions of the past without actually having been there? How exactly did she know all of these events? I don't necessarily want the movie to explain every little detail about how the visions work, but I don't know, maybe something more than just she may or may not have a mental illness. Anyway, now that she has this mysterious power, that leads me to my biggest head-scratching choice of the movie, the twist. Yes, there's a twist in this movie, and if you don't want to be spoiled by it, watch the movie. Or if you don't care, just keep watching the video. So Eloise sees a vision of Sandy being murdered by her boyfriend at the time, and she believes that Terrence Stamp's character is the boyfriend as an old man. So she tries to confront him, but he ends up dying / maybe living, who cares, he's out of the movie. She then talks to Diana Rigg about all that's happened, and Diana Rigg reveals herself to be Sandy. And this opens up a whole can of worms. While I don't hate the twist in concept, the way it's executed kinda ruins it. We're never explained why Eloise can see these visions, but if we're led to believe that she can see the events of the past exactly as they were, then I'd be okay with it. Terrence Stamp can be the boyfriend as an old man, and then he tries to kill Eloise so she doesn't reveal his dirty little secret. Except that he's not the boyfriend from the past, he's some random cop who once hung out with Sandy during her job and told her that she's better than this, and that's literally the only connection these two characters had. What actually happened was Sandy murdered Matt Smith's character as well as the dozens of other sleazy men who slept with her, so she was the killer the whole time. Which could still work as a twist if maybe Diana Rigg knew that Eloise could see these visions and so manipulated the past to make her believe that Matt Smith was the killer, and so then she could tell the police and get Terrence Stamp arrested and Diana Rigg would get away with all the murders. Complicated and stupid, but it kinda makes sense. But that's not at all what happens. It's just a giant coincidence that Eloise sees Matt Smith murder Sandy even though that never happened in the past. She doesn't think differently until Diana Rigg reveals herself to be Sandy and tells her about how she killed all those men. Diana Rigg literally could have gotten away with all the murders if she didn't tell Eloise anything. Hell, she would have definitely gotten away with all of this if she didn't rent out the very room where she killed a dozen people. Also, she just hides the bodies in the floorboards and walls. Wouldn't the smell of the decomposing bodies raise some suspicion? I think the movie tries to explain this by saying that the French restaurant next door has much stronger smells, so no one would be able to notice the rotting corpses, which I highly doubt that's how it works, but whatever. I do kinda like the idea of Diana Rigg being the killer the whole time, but the movie doesn't reveal it in any way where it's that satisfying because it's built upon coincidences and just plain bad decision making. And with that twist comes the reveal that the sleazy men that the movie has been building up as these lame jump scare ghosts just want Eloise to call the police on Diana Rigg so she can pay for her crimes. Again, a neat idea in trying to humanize characters the movie was trying to dehumanize, but then the movie doesn't go through with it because it literally has characters say out loud to the audience, they deserved it. Hey, remember in The World's End when the characters literally turn towards the camera and say gentrification is bad? No, that never happened because Edgar Wright wrote that movie to be smart and clever and treat the audience as thinking adults that could figure out the subtle nuances of the film themselves. Thanks, movie, for telling me that the sleazy perverts that didn't respect Sandy for who she is are in fact bad people. Kinda funny for this movie to paint one murder that didn't happen as the biggest deal in the world to then shrug at a dozen murders that did actually happen. What exactly is the moral of this movie again? Oh well, the apartment burns down and Diana Rigg dies and gets away with all the murders, maybe, I don't know. Then the movie ends with everything working out for Eloise. She gets to show off her cool designs at some fashion show and everyone loves her. But she still sees young Sandy in the mirror, symbolizing that she'll never get over the trauma she just endured. Which I will admit is a pretty awesome way to end the movie. I just wish the whole film was, better. So yeah, that's Last Night in Soho. I'm really liking it a lot less the more I think about it. I currently still have it at a 7 out of 10 on Letterboxd, since I did really enjoy the technical stuff throughout. I may lower it if and when I ever watch it again, because the script is just riddled with so many problems. Which is a real shame because I was really looking forward to this movie. I can't say it's ruined my perception on Edgar Wright. I still think he's my favorite director. If anything, this has made me appreciate his best work even more. I still adore Hot Fuzz and Baby Driver. They're still some of my favorite movies of all time. Because even if I don't like certain aspects of his movies, his best work is still out there and I still love them a lot. Also on the bright side, this was a better fashion designer girl boss movie than Cruella, so that's pretty cool.